Welcome to Ryan Runs, 17, I believe. It's got to be some sort of a record. I'm Ryan Miller, and I'm fiddling with stuff on my desk, and that's why it's noisy, because I haven't got out of bad habits yet. Any of them. But I have decided there's no reason why I can't record one of these at 8:26 p.m. on a Saturday. So here I am. If there's a reason, we'll find out by the end. And I'm here to talk about the new picture, one, of course, but also I'm here to talk about what I'm not going to talk about. And we'll see what that means later on. But the picture you will see there is for the Fury of the Aquabats 20-year tribute concert that they had at the Fonda Theater in 2018. And to start at the very beginning would be next to impossible, but if you know me, you know I'm into the Aquabats and have been since high school. I started going to concerts in '94, I think, so I would say I went to their first concert in '96, maybe at the latest. I have the tickets too. Maybe I should have looked that up, actually. Okay, so here's the thing about concerts. Is that by the end of the night, you are extremely wet. And most of it's your sweat, a lot of it's other people's, but that also goes for the ticket that's been in your pocket for the entire night. So in a lot of ways, I'm lucky that any of these tickets survived, but the first surviving ticket I have for an Aquabats concert was when I saw them on January 10th, 1998 at the Goleta Valley Community Center. And a lot of times I didn't have the actual year for some of these tickets because it just has the day and the date. So I had to comb through the calendar and be like, okay, what year did January 10th fall on a Saturday, and kind of figure it out from there. So if that math is correct, then 98 was actually a really good year. I saw them January 10th, and then I saw them again in Orange County on February 7th. And then I saw them again April 3rd at the Glass House in Pomona, which, my gosh, if I never would have known what I was missing, I guess, but I feel like a part of me would have just known that I was incomplete for the rest of my life. That show was amazing. It's featured, I believe, the whole thing in their DVD, Serious Awesomeness. So I even have it on record, which is good because I think I had to leave before the second or third encore. They kept changing outfits even to come out, and they must have done every song that they had at the time. Oh man. But then I saw them again April 28th at Tuesday 6 p.m. That doesn't matter. I'm just looking at the ticket now. The reason why the ticket's confusing is because it says Blink 182 real large on it. And how I know that was an Aquabats concert is because I never once went to see Blink 182 on purpose, and probably saw them still 6 or 7 times. And this time was when they were also, the Aquabats was opening for them. And this was, I believe, right as their big single hit and they were about to explode. So that's where Blink went, but I was following the Aquabats. The next year after that, I got extremely lucky. Living on the Central Coast, I got to see them both a little bit north and a little bit south. So I got to see them in Nipomo, and then I got to see them at the Ventura Concert Theater. And when I saw them in Nipomo, I had already sold my car. I was going to Ecuador in October and didn't have a way home, so I had to wait for my parents to come pick me up. And like I mentioned, by the end of these shows, you're extremely wet. And my shirt was literally soaked. I'm not like wet, like jumped in a pool wet, okay? So I had taken it off, so I was just walking around without a shirt and cold. But it was either have a wet shirt on in the cold or no shirt. So in any event, what I did at each of these shows was kind of hang out. And the Aquabats always came out to talk and say hi, and just, they always did. And this was no exception. In fact, it was probably the best one that ever was, because also at that show were the Mosleys, Paul Frank's band. And although I didn't know that at the time, while we were just sitting there hanging out, and I don't remember if I inserted myself into the Aquabats circle or if they came over to say hi, but I just sat in a circle with them talking. I don't know what they had to do. They must have been waiting on something too, or I don't know. But I was waiting for my ride, And we just sat and talked. And Paul Frank came up and was asking them questions about whether he should stay somewhere for the night or not. And it was one of the most memorable experiences of my life, probably. By the end of the year, I was in Ecuador, and I didn't see them again until, I don't know if I have that ticket, because they don't come like they used to. So I'll think about that later. None of this has to do with really that picture behind me. That picture came from, like I said, a show they did where they just replayed the entirety of Fury of the Aquabats, which was the album I came into them with. They had already done the Return of the Aquabats, and I had that as well, but Fury was really where I came. And I think that was the one that also had a lot of the radio play at the time. If you think about the 90s when ska was hitting, you could turn on the radio and catch a few that were good, or MTV2 if you were lucky. And so there was no chance I was not going to go to this show, but since it fell on April 7th, you'll see right there, my daughter's birthday is April 9th. And she, let's see, if this was 2018, she was born in 2009, so she must have been, she was 9 years old at the time. So I said, hey, do you want to go see? She had already heard them, of course. I did my due diligence, and the Aquabats had become a family band at this point. So I asked her if she wanted to go for her birthday. She said, of course. So that's where we went. And they had these packages. I don't remember. I think I signed up for the VIP package, so I just had to go and pick up this stuff, but it came with this and like a beanie and a bunch of other stuff. But the other stuff was great. Don't get me wrong. And thank you. And it was worth it. And I'll, I have no problem supporting the band. But this thing is just gorgeous. It's Parker Jacobs. In fact, they're all numbered. This is number 16, if that matters at all, out of 200. But just, I've always loved his artwork, but this is also just top tier, man. Like I don't know if it's got to be some sort of silk screen, but the ink is like Martian Girl is sparkly. It's like a silvery ink. Just fantastic. So that's the story roundabout of that new picture. And I'm glad that took some time, because the other thing I was going to say that I'm not going to say is that I was actually going to talk about some games. And I will say, finally, I mentioned that I hadn't been talking about them because I've been playing them kind of in blocks, so I'll talk about them in blocks as well. Well, I've been playing Danger Zone 2, and Dangerous Driving, which are from a developer called Three Fields Entertainment, which is from members that used to be part of a developer called Criterion Games, which used to make some games called Burnout. So this is the problem. I went down a rabbit hole, and now I'm looking at playing all of the Burnout games. I came into Burnout with Revenge on the 360, and it fast became one of my favorite games and continues to be one of my favorite games of all time. So I basically was going to talk about that thing, and then I got into looking up, well, where did Criterion Games come from, which was interesting, and what about Burnout 1, 2, 3, which was fascinating. Now I'm looking into the Xbox emulation scene to see if I can get some of these discs dumped, and or even just get an original Xbox, I guess, might be another way to do it. To capture some of that footage, or even just have that experience with the games. Because I feel like if I'm going to say that's one of my favorite games of all time, I might as well go back and get the history, right? That's nobody's surprised. So in going down that rabbit hole, I realized that this was going to take way more time. In fact, now I'm wondering if it's even going to be two separate shows, one Burnout and one Three Fields, but probably not. In any event, that's not this week. So that will be next time, whenever that is. And I'm still working on other things. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because it's also one of the easier things to do, and it's also one of the ways I can update on everything else. I'm still working on Chasers. I'm still working on getting that game recorded, edited with my family. Again, it's part of the problem was this week I got hired to work in Bakersfield, and when I got to Bakersfield on Sunday and went to work on Monday, they canceled. So I came home and went back on Tuesday, got this stuff done. So it just took up a lot of time and mind space. So that's all done. Nobody wants me to work on anything this coming week. So I'm hoping to get even more done in this area. So thank you No new patrons this week, so no new shout outs, but I will re-shout out the patrons from before. Brandon, Kim, Diana, Adam, Greg. I almost forgot, but I never would. Thank you again. And look at that. You're getting like twice or 3 times the shout outs for your money. Thank you, everybody, anywhere, all the time. Goodbye.